my name is Lila and welcome to my little baby podcast segment. Today, I'm going to be talking about women in gaming, video games to be absolutely specific. I'm going to give a very brief, broad overview of what it's like to be a woman in gaming. And then I'm going to go into my own sort of experiences as a woman in gaming. Now, it is unfortunately the reality that video games are mainly male-dominated spheres, which is fine, because of course there are still women who game, a huge population, but it does seem to be that men play video games more often than women do, which can lead to difficulty for the smaller percentage of women who are trying to play video games and even be taken seriously, like in esports, which is competitive gaming. And that can be very hard when you're faced with men who are very sexist and are like, why the hell is a woman here? That happens a lot. And you'd think as a society we've progressed, but when it comes to video games, that's just not true. Now I want to clarify that I'm not saying all men who play video games are like this. Some are actually really great and really nice and not sexist at all because they're good people. But it is unfortunately true that a lot of women will encounter just a lot of misogyny when talking in a video game chat or lobby. This, I think, most often happens, at least the pattern that I've researched and I've seen, from mainly FPS games, first-person shooter games like Call of Duty and CSGO, Overwatch, League of Legends. League of Legends actually isn't an FPS game, but nevertheless, games like that. An article by Forbes magazine actually gives this really great analogy of what it's like being a woman in gaming. And they say this: some might describe the experience analogous to competing in a multiplayer first-person shooter game, putting up a good fight to protect yourself from constant attack. So, what they're saying here is, when you're a woman gaming, it's already like you're in a first-person shooter game, because you need to protect yourself immediately from constant attack. And it is awful. It's not fun, because you're trying to have fun in a video game, but you can't because you're being verbally abused. So now that we sort of have this very broad overview, obviously this is not accounting of every woman's experience in the gaming industry. That would be a very intense, long, well thought out. That could even be a thesis paper. But now I'm going to more personally talk about my own experience as a woman in gaming, since I know my own lived experiences best, one could say. For me, being a woman in gaming seems almost doubly difficult because of my voice. I have a very naturally high-pitched, babyish sounding voice that tends to tick people off. And when you add that to a video game and to men who are already maybe more prone to aggression and misogyny, it's a disaster, and it can be quite scary. One of the unfortunate tropes, you could say, that has gone around with women in gaming, or even successful women in gaming, is that they have this characteristically sounding, high-pitched, baby-like voice that a lot of people are like, oh, that's not real, it's fake. And for some people, it is real, like for me, unfortunately. That's just how I was born. And for others, it is sort of a marketing tactic to gain followers and build a following for maybe live streaming gaming. So unfortunately, because of this, when you're just a normal person who's wanting to play a video game and maybe you say hi to your teammates and you have a high-pitched voice, you're gonna get some very negative reactions because people automatically think you're... I don't know what the right word is for this, but men just seem to really hate it. And I've been called a variety of names when I've dared to speak up. I would like to clarify for the record that I actually refuse to talk now in video games because it's just not worth being berated. Like, why do I need to get myself upset? And so I don't pretend that I'm a man. For safety, like genuinely for safety. Now, I've talked very negatively so far about the gaming community, but that's really not the whole picture. Obviously, being a woman in gaming is very difficult, and you're opening yourself up to hate from most likely men who are just unhappy people. But I personally feel that the pros outweigh the cons here, because I found like a very wonderful community when you are able to find it of friends who you can play with and who will protect you from the misogynistic men. So what I found in this article by The Guardian about how gaming really does get this sort of bad rap, especially for women, but this great quote from somebody who talked about their own experiences. They said about their own friend group, "We got to know each other better by issuing orders or coming to someone's aid. We talked to each other over the game like it mattered that we heard each other." I think this is just an excellent quote of what it sort of feels like when you find friends in a gaming community and you guys get to strategize together and really communicate what you're doing, because in some of these games strategy is very important and team camaraderie is, absolutely essential. And being able to save each other in the game, coming to help each other is, I just think, very fun and kind of special. So personally, I think that is the biggest highlight of being a gamer. It's not something that you have to do alone, ever. I mean, it's very easy to make friends through Discord, social media, Reddit, Twitter. I mean, it's super, it's not, I wouldn't say easy to find a community, but it is very accessible to be able to eventually find a community and meet really great friends and eventually, meet them in person and they become these lifelong friends, which I personally have experience with. And it's just great, especially when you find other women who are gaming and you guys sort of band together. That's the best feeling ever. Love it. So to conclude this sort of long-winded podcast about gaming and my own experiences as a girl gamer, as one could say, I would say that the pros definitely outweigh the cons, but it is definitely a struggle and something that, we sort of have to fight against continually. But, I'm confident that things will change. We already have, very popular female YouTubers and streamers who are gamers, who are, sort of breaking the mold and helping other women, which I think is great. But yeah, I just think that, gaming should be looked at through multiple lenses and objectively, because it's a very multifaceted thing, even though it's sort of treated as like this, obsessive hobby, which it really doesn't have to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my rambling, and thank you everyone for listening.
Let's go walking, you.